Let's talk about helicopters. Helicopters are regular units, just like infantry units, for example. They have the same values on the back, with the first column referring to the small arms, the second column referring to heavy weapons. So you have all the usual values you have to check. So the cost of using these different kinds of weapons, you have the range, you have the color of the die, you have to roll, and then you might have an intrinsic defensive value. Helicopters, though, are a peculiar kind of unit because they can be in two different stances. They can be either in a low stance or in a high stance. For example, this one is in low stance because it is on a clear terrain axis. So all the helicopters that are on clear terrain axis or on water axis, they're considered to be in low stance. In all other cases, like this one, for example, that is on a cover terrain axis, or even on a mountain X like this one, they are considered to be in high stance. So they're not, as they call it, in nap of the earth. They're not trying to hide behind obstacles and the terrain using a very low altitude, but they're flying quite high in the sky. Another difference between these two different stances is that if you are in low stance, some units, hunting helicopter units, units having the hunting helicopter ability, small arms and CAS, air support, can be used to fire at your helicopter and try to damage it or to destroy it. While if the helicopter is in high stance, like this one, small arms can't be used, so you'll have to use either air support, units with hunting helicopter abilities, or SAM units, so no small arms. In addition to that, if a unit is in high stance, is always seen by any other unit on the map. So there's no loss basically. I mean, there is a loss, but it's not hindered by any obstacles because the helicopter is very high in the sky. While with low stance like this one, all loss rules apply. So if there's an obstacle between the helicopter in a low stance and a unit trying to fire at it, then the loss is blocked and the firing unit won't be able to actually fire at its target. Now let's see this situation where we have two Russian helicopters, some irregulars. Now it's the turn of the irregulars. They want to get rid of the helicopters, of these two helicopters, or at least try and damage them. So they have several options. Now let's start with this vehicle unit. These vehicle units might try and fire with small arms at one of the two helicopters. Let's see if the unit can do it. First of all, if I want to fire this one, I have no problems with loss because this is in high stance. So the vehicle for sure will spot the helicopter and will be able to see it and to fire at it. Then I have to check the range. The range in this case is 3. It's quite short, but we're still in range because it's 1, 2, 3, so it's still in range. So I might still fire at it. The only problem is that being in high stance, I can't use my small arms. So in this case, I wouldn't be able to fire at this helicopter because it's in high stance. Let's try this other unit. This unit is a simple infantry unit. Okay, no SAM weapons, no hunting helicopter ability, no nothing, only small arms. So this unit might try and fire with its small arms to one of these two helicopters. As seen before, you won't be able to fire at this helicopter because it's in high stance, and the infantry unit can only use small arms, and small arms can't be used against high stance helicopters. it might try to fire at this helicopter, because this helicopter is in low stance. And so small arms can be used against helicopters in low stance. But the loss rules apply in this case because the helicopter is in low stance. So I have to check whether the helicopter is in range and the loss. The loss in this case is blocked. I can tell because if I run a straight line from the center of the X straight to the center of the helicopter X, I can see that this side of the loss touches a cover X, which is considered to be an obstacle, so hindering the loss. So because of the loss, this infantry unit won't be able to fire at the low stance unit. Let's see the range. Oh, the range also is quite short, so it wouldn't have been able to fire it anyway, because it's only 3 axis range, and the helicopter is 4 axis far away from the firing unit. Let's see this other case. This is a unit, interesting unit. This is one of those units that have the special ability of hunting helicopters ability. Being an ability, you have to spend 1 AP to activate it. In this case, I would say that for sure this unit can fire both at this helicopter, which is in high stance, and also this other helicopter, which is in low stance, because the low stance helicopter is in this unit's loss, because there are no obstacles hindering the loss here. If you trace a straight line from the firing unit to the center of the X where the helicopter is, there's no obstacles, so it can fire. The range is very short, just 2 axes, so for sure, 2 axes, for sure this unit can fire at it. So we have the range, we have the loss, and we have the right kind of weapon. So the hunting helicopter ability enables us to fire at this unit. Fire works just like in any other firing situations. I check the color, which is gray. I pay the relevant cost, which is 3 APs. I check the color after paying 1 AP to activate, in this case, the special ability. So in total, I would pay 4 APs. I check the color of the dice, which is gray. I see if there are any modifiers. Let's see if this helicopter has a intrinsic defensive value. Yes, it has an intrinsic defensive value of -2. So instead of rolling gray, I will have to roll. This is where the gray roll is. So I'll have to roll 1, 2, white. So I'll have to roll a white dice, which is not a very good dice. Let's see this other unit here. This unit here is a SAM unit. I can tell by this rhombus. Now, SAM units can fire both at low stance helicopters and high stance helicopters. So in this case, it could fire at the unit here, at the high stance helicopter, because even though there's a cover X here, the loss is not hindered if you're firing at a high stance helicopter. It's never hindered because the helicopter is very high in the sky, so you can always see it. So it might fire at this helicopter using the right column, the heavy weapons column. The range is very, very high. It's 21 axes, so for sure the helicopter is in range. And I might try to fire with this one, or I might decide to fire at this other helicopter. But in this case, since the helicopter is in low stance and there are some obstacles between me and the helicopter, in this case 2 axes of cover, 2 cover axes, I won't be able to fire it because basically I can't see it. So if I trace a line, a straight line from the center of this X to the center of this other X, my line will meet this cover X in particular, which will hinder the loss. So in this case, because of the loss, this unit won't be able to fire this one, but it might fire at this other one, which is in high stance instead. But let's see another special case in which helicopters might be targeted by another kind of weapon, which is air support. Air support. Let's say that I'm not in this situation. I'm in a different scenario, where instead of having irregular units against Russians, I have, for example, an American airplane, an American air support marker, like this one. Now it's the blue turn, so it's the American turn. I want to fire at this helicopter. So I can use this marker because the blue cube, my cube, the American cube, has passed already the box where the air support marker is. So I can use the air support marker. I take it, I pay the relevant cost. In this case, when you use airplanes to fire at helicopters, I must use the heavy weapons value, so this one on the right. So I'll be spending 9 APs. I spend my 9 APs, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. I place on the map, on the target, the marker. At this point, I roll the black die. I see if there's any modifiers. In this case, we have this intrinsic defensive value of -2. So instead of rolling a black dice, I will have to roll a blue one, because I start from the black, the base die color, and I go to the left of two dice. So 1, 2. I would be using this one. I roll the die, then I see what happens. I apply damages if there's any, and then I'll put my marker back on the action track where my blue cube is. Here. I won't be able to use this air support until the next turn, when the blue cube has reached the same box, so box number 6 of turn 2, or further down the track. Remember that you can't assault helicopters, neither can helicopters assault infantry units or vehicle units or any other kind of unit. Now snipers. Snipers are a support kind of marker. You will always find them on the action track, like here, like in this case. They only have one value, so they only have one kind of weapon. They don't have small weapons and heavy weapons. So they have one value. They have the cost in APs here on the left hand side. In the center you have this symbol, which is the infinite symbol, because they have an infinite range, so they can fire wherever the target is on the map, no problem. They have a color, which is the base color die you'll have to use when you fire, and we have the flag, the nationality flag. They work just like any other support marker. So when you have them on the map, you want to use them whenever your cube reaches the box where the sniper unit is, or even goes further down the track. You can use your sniper. In this case, for example, let's say that it's the British turn, so the blue cube has passed the box where the British sniper is, so that means I can use it. I can use the sniper, and I am, as a British player, I am the active player. So I decide to target this unit here on the map of irregulars. Now loss doesn't matter with snipers. And another good thing is that any other malus apart from physical damage won't affect the sniper's firing. So if the sniper has no physical damage, like this one marker, like this one, 2 hits, or this one hit, uh, unless this is the case, any other negative effects, maluses, are not taken into account. So intrinsic defensive values are not taken into account. This is 0, but even if it was -1, -2, it wouldn't do any difference. Cover doesn't have an effect on the sniper. So I decide to fire at this target. I pay the cost, which is in this case 4 APs. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. I use my sniper, putting it in the same X where my target is here. Notice that if there were another enemy sniper in Overwatch, this is not the case, but let's say that this irregular sniper had an Overwatch cube on it, the enemy sniper could fire at my sniper, at the British sniper, first. If nothing special happens and the unit here, the sniper, is still intact, it can continue and try and fire this target. Otherwise, if it has any damage, like suppression or physical damage, you will have to take them into account. You will have to consider this damage, kind of damage. But let's say that nothing happens because this wasn't in Overwatch. So I can go ahead and try and fire at this target. So I've already spent my 4 APs. Now I'll go check the die color. I don't have any. We said I don't have any maluses because the cover doesn't count with snipers. The intrinsic defensive value doesn't count. So I can use right away the green dice. So I throw my dice, see what happens. Okay, I got 1 hit. So my target suffers 1 physical hit. So I get my physical hit marker. At this point, I take back the sniper marker to the action track where my cube, the blue cube, currently is, which is in this case box number 9. Okay. And that's where my sniper action ends. Some irregular units in the game have a special action called Martyrdom. This unit, for example, has the Martyrdom special action. You can tell by this icon here, the explosion icon, which tells me that this unit can perform this special action. The only thing you have to remember is that to perform the Martyrdom special action, the unit must be perfectly healthy, which means that it mustn't have any morale damage. So it mustn't be neither shaken nor suppressed. So this unit is fine, as you can tell. There are no morale markers. So it might perform the special action, the Martyrdom action. So let's say this is the irregular army activation, and I want to target this unit here using the special action Martyrdom. I start moving. I have to get to be able to use the special action. I must be adjacent to the target unit. In this case, I'm not starting adjacent, but I can move adjacent because it's my activation. So I might move either here or here. I don't want to move here because I might trigger the fire from this unit, which is in Overwatch. I can tell by the red cube. So I don't want to risk it. So I go here instead, because this unit won't be able to see me at all, because there's this cover terrain X in between that blocks any line of sight. And this unit here can see me, but they don't have any Overwatch cube. So so there's no way they can fire at me while I'm the active player. So I decided to move here. Now that I'm adjacent to my target, I activate my special action. Being a special action, I have to spend the 4 APs here. I always use the AP cost of the small arms column. So in this case 4. I spend my 4 APs. I have to take into account any modifiers. In this case, the only modifier I have is the terrain, cover terrain, which is -1, because this unit doesn't have any intrinsic defense modifiers. So I'll have to subtract from the color, which is in this case green, 1 dice. So moving on the dice console from green, I shift 1 to the left and I get the gray dice. This is the dice I will use. So I roll my dice, see what happens. Okay, I get this symbol. It's an X symbol. I go check on the test chart. I look for Martyrdom. Here it is, Martyrdom. These are all the results I can get with the Martyrdom special action. Of course, being a Martyrdom, it means that the unit I'm using is committing suicide. It's a suicidal attack. So the unit using Martyrdom is always eliminated at the end of the action. The only difference is that the target unit might get no damage at all in the worst case, like in the case of critical failure. In some other cases might get some damage, moral or physical, and in the best case scenario for the martyr unit, it can be eliminated. So in this case I rolled this kind of result, which means failure. The target suffers 1 level of moral damage, so my target gets 1 moral damage, 1 level of moral damage, and the martyr unit of course is eliminated. So I go back to the map. My unit is eliminated, and the enemy unit gets 1 level of moral damage, which is suppressed, is this one here. And that's basically how Martyrdom works.